Hi, it's Brooke, and today I want to finally talk about Made for This. I've taken my sweet time because it has been a while since a perk has been so divisive between killers and survivors. And I really wanted to see how it went in my games. So, theoretically speaking, Made for This is a very good perk with two good effects, which is something that does not really happen in the game very often. I can think of very few perks that have two great effects. Adrenaline heals you one health state and makes you sprint, as like a sprint burst. Made for This gives you a 3% haste when injured and a 10 seconds endurance after completely healing one health state of another survivor. Otherwise, which other perks have these super good effects? There was Old Pain Rest that both regressed the gen and gave you the position of it. There was Call of Brine that regressed the gen 200% and gave the position of the gen being worked on. But yeah, it's not super common. Usually perks have one good effect or two mild effects or terrible effects overall. And when perks have super good effects, we know that they end up being nerfed because everyone is going to use them because they're better than other perks. So much for variety, I guess. But yeah, let's delve a little into what this perk is and how I encountered it in my game, what I noticed. First of all, I used it as survivor. I have had teammates using it as survivors. I have played against it both as Legion and as strong killers and weak killers with weak builds. I did not get an extreme value from Made for This, but when I got it, it was really good. I remember a game on Red Forest where I barely made it to a pallet, and I am 100% sure that both times I barely made it to these pallets, I would have not made it without Made for This. Now, my pathing is already quite efficient if I'm on a good day. So, yeah, but I swear to you, that pallet would have not been dropped if I was 3% slower. Other effects, yeah, the healing endurance that has actually been stronger as an effect for me. It's really good to be able to just heal someone else and not care of the killer approaching because you know you can tank a hit. And believe me, in 10 seconds, you can either tank the hit and move on or get to another tile. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, you can be edge map. In 10 seconds, you are getting to a tile. Basically, borrow time has been made 10 seconds so that you can get to a tile or get the speed boost from a hit and get to a tile. So, yeah. So, where do I side? How was it in my killer games? How efficient do I think it was? How many games have I lost to it? The answer is, I guess, two, maybe. And they were both on Nurse because it messed up with my muscle memory. I don't play Nurse anymore, and I already have quite a janky muscle memory on her. Thankfully, because when I was a god nurse, I didn't have any fun. Now I'm bad, and it's actually kind of fun. So yeah, it took me a while to just understand how to calculate the distance to survivors that had made for this, but then I got it and it never happened again. I do understand though that it can be really bad on killers that are already 4.4 and have a very small hitbox like Slinger. Because let's be honest, every time we see a video where someone loops a Huntress in endgame for like 10 minutes, it's usually a baby Huntress, and they have both hope and made for this. So yeah, that's a little bit of a skill issue on the Huntress, on the matchmaking to be fair, because maybe a baby Huntress should not be paired with a 5,000 hour survivor main streamer. Just same behavior, but that you do you, but I don't know, man. But anyway, yeah, that's usually the case. You're not gonna loop coconut in endgame for 10 minutes just because you have hope or made for this. Like that's not gonna happen. Just as you're not gonna mess up with super off memory, muscle memory. With mine, sure. With this, I don't think so, bro. So yeah, that's a skill issue on behavior side. But yeah, I do understand that even a 3% on killers with super small precise hitboxes like Slinger, where you have to hit through a gap. So you need to have the aim to hit through the gap, but also to know when the survivor is gonna cross it. It can mess up your muscle memory, and it kind of becomes a lot of stuff to keep track of, because you need to keep track of it. Does the survivor have this exhaustion perk? Then when is it? When are they gonna cross this little hole that I want to shoot through? Do they have made for this? Do they not have made for this? Like, yeah, it's already quite hard to play Slinger. We have no need to make it even harder, to be fair. But no, I didn't notice it very much, like personally in my games. One of the reasons is that I have an anti-exhaustion build on the killer I play the most, which is Legion. The second reason is that hope was already a thing. So when my games ended up to endgame, which is, to be fair, not too often, I already noticed hope if it was in play. And sometimes you straight up ignore the survivor that has hope to go and catch someone that is easier to catch, even if you're 4.6. But you may be asking, what if I cannot do that? Like, what if everyone is made for this, as it's happening right now? Well, it's happening right now because made for this is a really, really good perk. And right now it's maybe a little bit overtuned because I think the devs want survivors to pick it. If you only give made for this like a 3% haste that deactivates in endgame, there is really not much reason to bring it instead of another exhaustion perks, especially considering that adrenaline overrides exhaustion. So I think that they made it pair with hope because of this reason, because now survivors have one more tool in their arsenal and they can pick between different perks. And it's really cool that we actually see a variety of perks. And can I be honest? I do not bring anti-exhaustion because of made for this and hope. Because if you have anti-exhaustion and you kill exhaustion during the game, you will very rarely get to end game unless like you're on Garden of Joy and you're Sadako, then yeah. But when I don't bring anti-exhaustion, when I bring my meme builds on weak killers or random builds and I don't have Fearmonger or whatever, I don't suffer from made for this. I suffer from light, sprint burst, balance landing even. So I don't really agree with like, oh, made for this is so much worse, or even it's the same, like just as bad as All Dead Art. I started playing with All Dead Art, All DS, and Ruin and Die meta, and you guys have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. Like, All Dead Art was evil. Made for this is like, oh yeah, sure. Made for this is an angel, is great. Like, give me Made for this 100,000 times. But I guess we have an elephant in the room here. That is, it's so strong when paired with hope. So what am I supposed to do? Well, first of all, maybe you need to ask yourself, why are you always getting to endgame? There are, I guess, a couple of big options here. The first one is that you like endgame builds. I am not the correct person to discuss that because I am terrible with endgame builds. If I have Noah, the survivors will have Overzealous, Counterforce, Inner Healing. If I have Blood Warden, I will open the gate in the most obvious way possible. If I have no way out, the survivors will be hiding in lockers for 60 seconds. So, I don't know. If you like endgame builds, I'm sorry. I hope this gets patched up for you because everyone deserves to have fun, I guess. The second reason could be you cannot get to survivors during the game. Now, this may happen for a number of reasons. The first one is your build has no gen regression. Maybe you have not perks unlocked, so you're a very new player. Maybe you don't like bringing slowdowns. First case, you're gonna unlock perks in time. Pain Rest, Pop are great, and Jolt, which is a free perk, is also great. But if you don't like bringing slowdowns, ask yourself why. There's nothing wrong in bringing slowdowns. There are very good earned slowdowns like Pop, like Pain Rest, like Jolt. It doesn't have to be boring gen kicking. It can be dynamic and just reward you for playing well. So there's nothing, dishonorable in bringing gen slowdowns. Don't worry. If you cannot catch the survivors during the game and you do have slowdowns, it may be that you're not very proficient with the M2 of your killer, with your killer power. Maybe you are still training, you're still trying to understand how it works. So if you got paired with survivors that are way better than you it's probably good that they escape, right? So that maybe at some point the next patch is going to be more adequate for you to train and to understand how the M2 works. If it's not an M2 problem, it may be that you either are not particularly good with your M1 mind games, which are always useful, especially as a 4.6 killer, or it may be that you have no map pressure because you have no game sense. And that's something that both things are something that you can understand in time, that you can develop in time, knowing where survivors are, what they're doing. It's something you will develop in time. There's nothing wrong with losing some games because you don't know where the survivors are. You can bring barbecue, you can bring other aura perks, and get a lot of value from that if you don't know where the survivors are on average. But what I really think is bad about Made for This, in my opinion, is the 10 seconds endurance. 10 seconds is a lot. And it punishes the killer in two situations. The first one, the killer is omega slugging and you are picking your friend up, then sure. That's fine. That's cool. I like it. But the second reason is this. Sometimes you have tracking perks, like you have barbecue, you have darkness revealed, you have, I don't know, some shit, and you see, or even nurses calling, you see two survivors healing very far away from the generators that you should be defending. So you decide to actually go there and interrupt their healing, maybe down one of them because you know that they're both injured, for example, and they will only have time to heal one of them fully. But then you get there, you hit the person who was healing the other one, expecting a reward, and they have 10 seconds of endurance. That really pushes the killer to never leave their Trigen ever again in their entire life. And that's pretty terrible in my opinion. Because if there's something we do not need right now, is killers defending Trigens. Even without gen perks, defending a Trigen is still super obnoxious, especially if they have done that from the start and it's not the survivor's fault from Trigening. So knowing that you may be harshly punished for going out of your way to actually get one more hook state and be less boring, that definitely does not encourage you to play fun. What are my conclusions? Do I think Made for This is extremely obnoxious per se? No. Personally, no. Do I think its combo with Hope is OP? Yeah, it's very, very strong. Hope is already plenty, and apparently that 3% does make a difference. So, in endgame, it could just be the higher bonus. I don't know, man. Like, it doesn't change much for me. If I get to endgame, the game is probably already lost for me. But I don't have the only available playstyle in this game, so I guess, yeah, we could do something different, maybe. I don't know, behavior. But the 10 seconds of endurance, oh my god, that really tilts me. That really tilts me. 10 seconds is a lot. Like, at least make it so, like, short enough for me to be able to wait it out. Because 10 seconds makes playing off health states and pushing survivors and actually, spreading pressures and doing hit and run impossible. If everyone is made for this, it becomes impossible. And then what do I do? If I cannot spread pressure, if I cannot um, work on health states and hit and run, I gotta do. I tunnel, I trigen, and I proxy camp. That there are no other playstyles. So I don't know, behavior. You did all of this. You nerfed medkits so that hit and run would be a more viable playstyle, and now you're like, nah, fuck you, and you hit and run. That does not make much sense. But anyway, this is all I had to say. In case you were curious, the Ada got gates, and yeah. Happy anniversary, happy event. Use a lot of fake party palettes. They're super, super fun. I love them. And I'm really loving this anniversary. It's great. It's even better than the one last year that was already super fun. Get your masks, get your brawl points, get your P100s, and see you next time. Bye.